Wake up! It's the Saturday Morning Podcast. Let mom and dad sleep in and come back with me to the 80s. Let's grab a bowl of Golden Puffs or Apple Cinnamon Cheerios and flip on the tube. I've got the TV guide and hours of nothing to do. My name is Chris, and I love all the Saturday morning cartoons. When I was a kid, I lived for Saturday mornings. Now that I'm an adult, I want to relive all those great shows and see where they came from. Let's take a deep dive back to the 80s and see what's waiting. Rewind! Zoom, zoom, zoom. Boom, boom, boom. The place is Mouseville. It's a city of mice. It's a city of cats. It's a tough place for orphans, men, women, boys, girls. It's a tough place for everyone. When there's trouble, there's one crime fighter that's there in the nick of time. Is it a plane? No. Is it a bird? No, but you're getting closer. Just like a bolt from the blue with a heart that's true, it's Mighty Mouse. And he's come to save the day in his new adventures.
Zoom, 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 boom, 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 boom. Here he comes, that mighty mouse, coming to vanquish the foe with a mighty blow. So don't be afraid anymore, 'cause things won't be like they've been before. Here I come to save the day. Thank goodness Mighty Mouse is on his way. So let the trumpet players play, for Mighty Mouse is here today. Here he comes, that Mighty Mouse, just like a bolt from the blue, with a heart that's true, fighting evil, fighting crime, and always there in the nick of time. Here he comes to save the day, and he will prove that crime will never pay. So let the trumpet players play, for Mighty Mouse is here today.
In the fall of 1987, CBS launched Mighty Mouse, The New Adventures in the 7:30 time slot. The ads in comic books and magazines were simple. There was a layout with various CBS characters with the above caption, "Gonna Party." Mighty Mouse was front and center with Hello Kitty, Muppet Babies, Pee-wee's Playhouse, Teen Wolf, and Popeye and Son. In the lower right-hand corner is a trash can with eyeballs. This is likely a reference to the Garbage Pail Kids series that was pulled from broadcast just days before the premiere. Mighty Mouse, The New Adventures, not to be confused with the 1979 Filmation series, The New Adventures of Mighty Mouse, focused on Mike Mouse, Pearl Pureheart, and Scrappy Mouse in Mouseville. As with any metro area with a superhero, the city was teeming with baddies who picked on people Mike knew. Unknown to the villains, Mike had an alter ego in the form of Mighty Mouse. When crime happened, you better believe you'd hear the familiar battle cry of "Here I come to save the day," meaning Mighty Mouse was on his way. Mike Mouse was mild-mannered as so many superheroes are. He worked at Pearl Pureheart's factory and was also dating the boss. Like superheroes of the past, Mike was the alter ego of Mighty Mouse. His origin was from 1,000 blocks away. His parents sent him away from the condemned building they lived in. Landing in Mouseville, he arrived with superpowers and became the city's protector. Pearl Pureheart, a lovely blonde with a factory, was a champion of Mighty Mouse. She was also rescued by him more than once. Scrappy Mouse was a streetwise orphan. He was also considered to be friend of Pearl and Mighty Mouse's sidekick. Scrappy also knew that Mike Mouse was Mighty Mouse, a fact that the superhero didn't hide from the orphan. The Cow was not a friend. He was one of the enemies that Mighty Mouse had to face in Mouseville. He's got super strength and the chops to take on Mighty. He's also got a crush on Madame Marsupial. Also, we'll call the Cow he was actually a bull. And finally, Sourpuss is a cat that antagonizes Mighty Mouse. Though irritated by his partner in crime, Gandy Goose, Sourpuss seemed to really care about his partner all the same. To understand Mighty Mouse, The New Adventures, we must go back to where the heroic mouse with the operatic voice came from. For that, we have to travel back to 1929 to an animation studio in New Rochelle, New York. This was the home of Terrytoons, a studio started by Paul Terry, Frank Moser, and Joseph Kaufman. It was a small studio that took pride in churning out a cartoon a week for theatrical release. Because of the workload, the quality was spotty. Then again, Paul Terry once said, "Walt Disney is the Tiffany's of the business and I am the Woolworths." The studio was a success and managed to turn out a large volume of work. They were slow to adapt to newer technologies such as sound and Technicolor. In 1942, they produced a short called The Mouse of Tomorrow and featured a character called, say it with me, Super Mouse. The short was about a group of mice in a country village who were terrorized by cats. The mice are constantly being chased, captured, and I would imagine, eaten. One mouse breaks away and escapes the cats in a supermarket. The mouse takes a bath in super soap, eats super soup and super celery, and of course becomes Super himself. It's the super cheese that turns him into Mighty Mouse. His costume is blue and red, one more obvious reference to the Superman mythos of that time. The Super Mouse rounds up the cats, dumps them on the moon, and becomes a hero to mice everywhere, and all without saying a word. In 1944, Paul Terry found out that there was a Super Mouse in comic books, and so changed the name of his character to Mighty Mouse for the 8th short, The Wreck of the Hesperus. The Mighty Mouse shorts would go on to spoof not only superheroes and monster movies of that time, but also popular melodramas. Because of this, the mouse would go on to be the most popular cartoon to come out of Terrytoons. The studio would continue to make Mighty Mouse cartoons for theatrical release until 1961. In 1955, Paul Terry sold the television rights to CBS, where the character became a Saturday morning property in Mighty Mouse Playhouse. While it is unarguable that Mighty Mouse was the most popular character Terrytoons had, he was never as big as he was about to become. It was television that saw the mouse soar to new heights. TV gave the 80 Terrytoon shorts new exposure on Saturday mornings and the memorable theme song. CBS ran the show for nearly 12 years before retiring the character in 1967. In 1979, animation studio Filmation revived the Super Mouse in The New Adventures of Mighty Mouse and Heckle and Jekyll. The show ran for a total of 60 minutes and consisted of 2 Mighty Mouse segments, 2 Heckle and Jekyll segments, 1 episode of Quackula, and 1 episode of a science fiction serial called The Great Space Chase. If that wasn't enough content, there was also educational PSAs for Mighty Mouse and Heckle and Jekyll. As with the previous show, this series ran on CBS. The show ran from 1979 to 1980, producing 96 segments. Ralph Bakshi, an animator-director known for the controversial films Fritz the Cat and Coonskin, started his career with Terrytoons. He was hired as a cell polisher, a job that removed dirt and other debris from the animation cells. With Terrytoons being based in New Rochelle, Bakshi had a 4-hour commute just to get to work. After months of this meticulous work, Bakshi's supervisor was surprised the 18-year-old was still coming to work. The supervisor promoted the young man to cell painter, and he was on his way to a career in animation. In 1966, Bakshi accompanied a Terrytoons executive to a meeting at CBS to pitch shows to accompany Mighty Mouse Playhouse. All the ideas were rejected. As the story goes, Bakshi waited for Fred Silverman, CBS's executive in charge of daytime programming, to leave his office. Having an opening, Bakshi pitched the idea for a series called The Mighty Heroes. It was about an unlikely assortment of superheroes who fought even dumber villains. Silverman liked the idea, and The Mighty Heroes was added to the existing Mighty Mouse shorts. Bakshi served as the series' creative director. Dissatisfied with his career advance at Terrytoons, Bakshi left the studio to form his own company. In 1969, Bakshi was looking for funding to animate a movie. A friend suggested he'd be successful as a first-time filmmaker if he were adapting an existing property into a movie. By chance, he found the Robert Crumb graphic novel Fritz the Cat and pursued the rights. His tenacious spirit won over Crumb and secured his funding from his producers. Fritz was a satire about American college life at that time, race relations, and the dishonesty of politicians. It was the first animated movie to open with an X rating. Bakshi would continue on with innovative animation. He used rotoscoping techniques on his Wizards movie and his Lord of the Rings animated films. Wizards saw Bakshi shift from satire to fantasy, and several other films were produced. These successful films were then followed by a slew of films in development, with none of them getting off the ground. One idea that failed to go anywhere was a proposed film based on the novel Catcher in the Rye, which would feature animated flashbacks. Writing to Catcher's author, J.D. Salinger, Bakshi explained his intent and was seeking the rights. The reclusive Salinger wrote back explaining that Catcher in the Rye was only suited to be a book. Discouraged, Bakshi retired from animation in the early 80s and focused on painting. Not completely retired, Bakshi started working on screenplays based on old ideas. He was also contacted to direct a music video for the song Harlem Shuffle covered by the Rolling Stones. The video had a one-day shoot, which was delayed by a snowstorm and equipment issues. The live action was shot in the time required by Bakshi. Also working on the video was animation director John Kricfalusi, who had only had a few weeks to pull the video together. But it all came together and aired on the Grammys that year. While the video might seem like a train wreck in retrospect, it brought Bakshi and Kricfalusi together. Bakshi recognized Kricfalusi's talent as an animator and wanted to work with him on a project. After several stalled attempts, the duo turned their attention to Saturday morning animation. Bakshi met with Judy Price, the head of CBS's Saturday morning programming. Prior to this meeting, Bakshi met with several animator friends to brainstorm proposed ideas. At the CBS meeting, Bakshi pitched every brainstormed idea and Price passed on all of them. Price asked what else he had and Mighty Mouse came to mind. Price accepted the idea. Bakshi and his team now had a commitment for a Mighty Mouse show for CBS on Saturday morning. Now, all they had to do was assemble the perfect cast. The heroes, heroines, and villains of Mouseville were made up of a talented cast of actors. Patrick Penny started his acting career in live action in the uncredited role of the Captain of the Guard in The Fifth Musketeer. He quickly shifted to voice work, lending his vocals to Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, Richie Rich, and The Smurfs. Hailing from Stockton, California, he attended college to study acting. He set out to be a serious stage actor, but was approached for a role with Hanna-Barbera. This shifted his career trajectory to voiceover work, a craft he excelled at. He was a pro by the time he earned the role of Mike Mouse, aka Mighty Mouse, the series lead. Maggie Roswell was cast as Pearl Pierhart, Mike Mouse's girlfriend. Roswell started her career in the early 70s on shows such as The Partridge Family and MASH. She wouldn't appear in animation until 1983 in the Ralph Bakshi movie, Fire and Ice. She went on to voice characters in Popeye and Son around the same time she was cast as Pearl in Mighty Mouse. Perhaps it was the Bakshi connection that brought the Los Angeles-born actress to Mighty Mouse. Maybe it was simply her talent. Dana Hill was known to theater audiences as Audrey Griswold from National Lampoon's European Vacation in 1985. In 1978, at the age of 14, she guest starred on Mork and Mindy. During the 80s, Hill appeared in Magnum P.I. and went on to work in The Pound Puppies and The Flintstone Kids' Just Say No TV special. She was cast as Scrappy Mouse, Mighty's orphan sidekick. What do you look for in an actor to cast him as the Cow? If you're the producers of Mighty Mouse, you look for an actor hailing from Youngstown, Ohio. Enter Michael Pataki, who started acting at the age of 20 in 1958. The Cow would be a good fit for Pataki, as the actor primarily made a career of playing unlikable characters on TV and in movies. Playing an antagonist like the Cow was a natural extension of his long and prolific career. With the main cast squared away, it was time for the producers to find their supporting cast. Cast as guest actors were an eclectic mix of actors. Joe Alasky was cast as Sourpuss. Alasky started on the series Galtar and the Golden Lance in 1985. In 1987, he appeared on the syndicated television series Out of This World as Uncle Beano. Between Out of This World and Mighty Mouse The New Adventures, Alasky was pulling double duty between live action and animation. Before coming to acting, Alasky was interested in a variety of careers, including archaeology, the priesthood, and becoming an English teacher. While trying to get acting jobs, he worked in insurance. Bo Weaver grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and bounced around radio stations in the 60s and 70s. Distinguished by his long ponytail, Weaver started TV voiceover work for McDonald's and then found work on The Transformers as Octane. He found a home on Mighty Mouse as Sandy Bottomfeeder, among other voices. Wendell Washer started as a layout artist on Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids in 1972. He moved up to storyboard artist in animation for Hanna-Barbera. In fact, he was even a storyboard artist on the 1979 Filmation Mighty Mouse series. Perhaps it was his familiarity with Mighty Mouse that landed him the recurring role of Chester P. Cheezler on the new show. Maybe he was changing careers, as he also had a writing credit on The Tom and Jerry Show in 1980. Whatever the case, he only worked as an actor for his 10 episodes of Mighty Mouse. Charlie Adler was cast to provide additional voices, but is perhaps best remembered as Bat in the episode Bat with the Golden Tongue in Season 2. While his on-screen career may have started in 1981 with an ABC after-school special, he was quickly in demand in animation as a voice artist. By the time he landed on Mighty Mouse, he was all over Saturday Morning Land. From Pound Puppies to the Smurfs to Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling, you can be sure you've heard Adler at one time or another. After these messages, we'll be right back with the premiere of Mighty Mouse The New Adventures.
Zeroni!
You can taste the fun of make-believe with Chef Boyardee.
Animal shapes! Pac-Man!
You can go anywhere you want to be with Chef Boyardee.
Pac-Man! Tastes great! Yeah, and good for us. Tomorrow, ABCs and 1, 2, 3s.
Thank goodness
For the fun of
Chef Boyardee. Chicken yum. Jump it up with new chicken and bubble yum. Chicken so cool is the way to jump it up with bubble yum. Chicken.
Live from Hollywood, it's a Bet You Bite a Chip show. And now, I'll be the first contestant to bite a Chips Ahoy cookie without biting a chip. I bit a chip.
Chips Ahoy, original and chewy. Bet you bite a chip.
Our Super Golden Crisp cereal turns this nutritious breakfast into a super treat. Can't believe there's 8 vitamins hiding in that sweet, crispy wheat. Oh, looks like the 3 little kittens lost their mittens.
But not our stripes.
Spoon up the crunch, Sugar Bear. 1 vitamin-packed punch coming up. You cats look kind of pale. Eat more wheat. Can't get enough Super Golden Crisp. It's got the crunch with punch.
Yeah.
If you watched the premiere of Mighty Mouse The New Adventures, the date was September 19th, 1987. Ronald Reagan was the President of the United States. America was listening to I Just Can't Stop Loving You by Michael Jackson, the #1 song in the land. Moviegoers excitedly went to the theaters to see Michael Douglas and Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction. On the cover of the TV guide was Brooke Shields with the caption, "Why not Brooke Shields for Miss America?" If you were a kid in 1987, maybe you got up early and got yourself breakfast. Maybe you had a new cereal, like a bowl of ice cream cones or Nut and Honey Crunch. There's a new version of the iconic Mighty Mouse theme song, and it's super chill. Like, if I were Mighty Mouse, I'd listen to this while lounging on a cloud. And that's just what Mighty's doing until he's called into danger. He swoops underwater to rescue Pearl Pierheart from a bunch of sharks. And then we get shots of a lot of villains, and Mighty Mouse comes to save the day. In this world, where mice and cats talk, there's a movie poster on a wooden fence that reads Howard the Man. Did Steve Gerber know about this? It's here that Mighty Mouse changes clothes to become his alter ego, Mike Mouse. You know, like all superheroes do who aren't Tony Stark. And now we start with Night on Bald Pate, a cerebral reference that little kids of the 80s might not have gotten. Or do all kids know that Pate means head, and that this title was a reference to Night on Bald Mountain? I didn't know any of that as a kid, though I always had Modest Mussorgsky on full blast because Russian music from 1881 will always hold up. Wink. I find it funny that the title screens tout Bakshi Animation. It's like Ralph got paid to advertise his animation studio on network television. Can I self-promote like that? Should I start saying, Christopher J presents the Saturday Morning Podcast featuring Christopher J's Christopher J? You know, I like the sound of that, kids. And now we're seeing Pearl Pierheart underwater and the sharks are harassing her. Hey, wait, I saw this in the opening shots of the opening shots. We're 30 seconds in and already being treated to reruns. Well, it was the 80s and they were recycling. Go green. Nice touch that Pearl is fighting off sharks with a torch. Underwater sharks are usually so terrified of fire. Pearl is so surprised when the fire goes out because it's so unusual that water could defeat fire. She screams for help, and the water's bubbles carry the message to Mighty Mouse, who's lounging on that cloud we saw in the opening credits. Mighty jumps into action. Pearl tells the TV viewers goodbye, and there goes the fourth wall. The sharks eat Pearl, and CBS cancels the show for being too gory. The end. No, wait, Mighty Mouse was on his way, so I can assume he'll keep the sharks at bay. Pearl is part of an elegantly set table and garnished with onions. As Mighty Mouse closes in, Pearl gets broccoli shoved in her ears, and then the sharks, as a family, bless their food reverently. Mighty Mouse swoops in the nick of time and saves Pearl from Mommy Shark, Daddy Shark, and of course, Baby Shark doot 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 doot. Baby Shark doot 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 doot. As Mighty Mouse flies Pearl to safety, it's clear the mouse isn't watching where he's flying. He could slam into one of those mountains at any second. How ironic would it be if he rescued Pearl just to kill her in flight? Oh well, at least he's not texting. Mighty wonders what makes an arch-villain. The narrator tells us this is what we're about to see. Enter a creepy cat in trench coat skulking around the city with a bald and shiny goose egg on the top of his head. A close-up shows he's got cockroaches running around on his noggin. A barber has the misfortune of asking the bald cat if he'd like a haircut. And then some Ren and Stimpy looking kids talk about a ball game where the Yankees made a close shave of it. All these factors are irritating the cat, pushing him over the edge. Like, just one more ball joke and he could snap like a twig into an arch-villain. Well, Lex Luthor lost his hair and became an arch-villain, so anything's possible. But what are the odds that Mighty Mouse's backstory will even come close to echoing Superman's origin? Wink. We find that the cat is named Petey Pate. And hearing the narrator, Petey snaps like a twig. The city folk all around him laugh and send him over the edge. Petey can't even hold a job. He gets a name tag ripped off his shirt by Kirk and Mike, I assume the Douglases. I definitely recognize Kirk Douglas's butt chin, but Mike looks way off. Maybe that's Mike Douglas, the talk show host. Anyway, pop culture, y'all. Petey decides to become an arch-villain and even visits the arch-villain Emporium to pick up some arch-villainry supplies. You think they sell food like arch-villain butter and arch-villain Spam? Or is it just like arch-villain Reese's peanut butter cups at the checkout stand? Off to pick up some burly henchmen from a police lineup, we're treated to a shirtless cartoon version of Ralph Bakshi. Petey manages to pick the two most gooey-looking henchmen he can find. Petey and the gang try to rob the bank. The needed henchmen are left outside the bank as if they weren't needed at all. Petey tries to rob the bank by writing a hold-up note, which he signs with his real name. I'm not sure, but I don't think that's how you crime. The teller, a lady dog, reads the name and laughs in Petey's face. What a bitch. You know, the female dog kind. The arch-villain slinks away, embarrassed. Who signs a stick-em-up note with their real names? Don't they teach you not to do that in Supervillainy 101? I know my online classes cover that. Outside of the Mouseville factory works, Petey Pate and his henchmen are trying to analyze what's going wrong. Let's see, the henchmen are morons, Petey has no good ideas, and baldness is not an excuse to be evil. What's the one thing that Petey needs? That's when Mighty Mouse comes flying in with Pearl. Petey's got it. He needs to defeat a superhero to be a supervillain. If Petey had just gone to the Hair Club for Men, he'd never have gone down this path. Petey vows to take down Mighty Mouse by kidnapping Pearl Pierheart. But he needs a plan to get Pearl, something so ingenious it's never been done before. He comes up with a box propped up by a stick. It's so crazy, it just might work. With a slab of cheese under the box, it attracts Pearl, who looks at the cheese adoringly. She looks at it like it's Mighty Mouse, like she just wants to get under there and do whatever she's going to do to it. And she does. Pearl grabs the cheese, the box goes down, more on one and more on two tie her up, and Petey's got a way to get Mighty Mouse. And Petey's got a hideout that has his ball dome on top of it. For a guy who just hours ago decided to be an arch-villain, he sure did move quickly on that hideout thing. Petey demands that Pearl tell him Mighty Mouse's weaknesses. Pearl denies she even knows Mighty. Considering Mighty Mouse flew her to work like some superhero Uber, Pearl is not being kind. And then Petey's sinister plan is revealed. He wants to own all the left shoes in Mouseville. What a raving loon. If you only wear one shoe, you're gonna walk in circles. Everyone knows that. Petey is so insane that even his henchmen shake in fear. Petey shows how insane he is by getting in a bathtub full of spaghetti and meatballs, and then bounces around a Salvador Dali-inspired landscape. To bring him down from his mania, more on one and more on two grab Petey by the neck and rub his belly like he's a snake, calming him down. They do this like Pitfall Harry did in that episode of Saturday Supercade. Episode available from the Saturday Morning Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, resting in bed, he realizes the error of his way and tells Pearl she's free to go. Who should she thank, she asks. The henchman says they call him Petey, and it enrages the cat all over again. Oh, I get it. He's not upset that he's bald and his last name is Pate. He's pissed off because his parents named him Petey. It starts the frenzy all over again, and Pearl is re-kidnapped. Working his supercomputer and media center, Petey broadcasts to Mouseville. He challenges Mighty Mouse to a fight, or else no one will ever see Pearl Pierheart ever again, except on legal holidays. Ever the superhero, Mighty Mouse flies off to find Petey Pate. It's like that book. If you give a mouse an arch-villain, he's going to want to save the day. Using the gold fillings in his teeth, Mighty Mouse follows the signal to Mount Pate to find Petey. And find him he does. The ball top of Mount Pate opens, a huge can of Cheese Whiz comes out, and Mighty Mouse is sprayed with orange-colored fake cheese. Well, the cheese is thick as country music, it can't keep Mighty Mouse down. To fight the cheese stream, Mighty uses a huge celery stick to scoop it up. Between the broccoli and celery, it's a pretty healthy Saturday morning show. If Mighty Mouse ever had his own cereal, you think it'd be broccoli celery flavored? Excuse me, I just threw up a little bit. The celery is shoved down the can of spray cheese and Petey is defeated. Wait, he's got one more trick up his villainous sleeve. Mighty Mouse unties Pearl, ties up the morons, and chases after Petey, who gets into a glass chamber. Petey flips a switch, energy envelops the chamber, and Petey undergoes a transformation. Instead of wearing his villain suit, he's now dressed in khaki shorts, a tropical shirt, sports a tan, and cucumbers over his eyes. Because making those unsightly bags under his eyes go away is priority number one. In the midst of his insanity, we find Petey spiffied himself up so he'll look good in his mugshot. Petey is taken to jail, the morons are taken to the henchman outlet, and Mouseville is saved until after the commercial break. Next up, Mouse from Another House, which starts at the Mouseville Elementary School. Is this If You Take a Mouse to School? Because I'm getting that vibe. It was Orphan Scrappy's first day at school. He looks so excited when the bell rings, like he wants to run out and tell his parents all about the... Oh, right. Orphan. No parents. Got it. Scrappy tries to find a friend to play with, but all the kids have dates with their parent. The orphan is all alone, and we pull back to show the whole city is basically empty, like the COVID quarantine is still in effect. So, let me get this straight. The bald guy is made evil because people won't stop reminding him that he's bald. And the city's all talking about their moms and dads because there's an orphan around. Do you think they talk about what restaurant to eat at with the homeless? What an insensitive city. So Pearl finds mopey Scrappy sitting on the curb like the trash he is. As you can imagine, he goes on about how being an orphan sucks but says he knows Mighty Mouse. But he doesn't, because he's a big fat liar who knows no one. Worst first day of school ever. Pearl tells Scrappy that Mighty Mouse was an orphan too and overcame that to be a functioning member of society. And the superhero flies by with a bag of cats he caught that he's going to drop in the river. I mean at a rescue. I mean at the rescue by the river. I mean drown them all. I mean no. And is it just me, or is Scrappy's head way too big? Is he gonna grow into that thing? Doesn't that giant head hurt his spine? If I lived in Mouseville, I'd pick on his head instead of reminding him that his parents were probably decapitated. I'd be like, hey, big head, you have more heads than your parents do. Then he'd grow up to be an arch-villain and exact his revenge. And you know what? I'd deserve it. When my oldest kid was born, I called him Big Head Baby. And if he exacts his revenge on me one day, I'll deserve it. Pearl settles in to tell the origin story of Mighty Mouse, who came from 1,000 blocks away, from an abandoned building. The narrator gets on Pearl's case for illegally narrating, but Pearl tells him to butt out. There goes that fourth wall again. We see the tenement where Mighty came from, where his people lived in a hole in the wall. This apartment has a red skeleton creepy clown painting on the wall. So far, that's the scariest thing in this episode. The mice in this neighborhood are so tough, so mighty, they terrorize the cats. They look like rejects from a biker gang. Except for the mouse with a pimp hat, belly shirt, and chain belt. He looks like a lost member of the Village People. In a condemned building, we find baby Mighty in the arms of his parents. They are called Aral and Liraj. For those who cannot hold those names up to a mirror, they are Laura and Jarell, Superman's parents, spelled backwards. I wonder what kind of comparison they're trying to make. Liraj has been trying to tell people that the world is doomed, so they need to blast their son to a better place. No one believes the mouse with the French accent and tiny mustache. He points to the sign that reads condemned, but no one gets it. And then a wrecking ball comes in like a wrecking ball. I think this one meant to break their walls. Baby Mighty is placed into a rocket ship along with a Pac-Man shaped Limburger cheese. As the building falls apart around them, the rocket blasts off. The building falls down, and the biker mice finally believe Liraj is telling the truth. The journey of Baby Mighty is a long one, traveling 1,000 blocks. When the baby cries, a mechanical arm feeds him. The cheese is mutating and glowing and pulsating with something. The rocket crashes into the rural part of Mouseville. The crash is so hard, the mutated Limburger is sprayed all over Mouseville and is Mighty's version of kryptonite. The baby mouse is found by Ma and Pa, country hick squirrels who let the baby fall out of a tree. Not once, but twice before grabbing him. They decide to raise the baby mouse as the baby squirrel they never had. They decide to call the tyke Mike. As Mike grows up, his parents realize there is something mighty about him. He can demolish an acorn by hitting it on the ground and, yelling at his mom, knocks her over with his super breath. He's got super strength and grows so big he's out of frame on the TV. Now, old squirrels, Pa points out that their tree is plumb nutless, which is sad considering how they all used to bust nuts together. Looks like the squirrels are about to be crow food. I'm guessing those three birds are Heckle, Jekyll, and Freckle, maybe, to keep the rhyme scheme? And then guess who's coming to save the day? That's right, that mighty tyke, Mike. And he's sporting wood while busting out nuts. Oh, wait, I hear how that sounds. I mean, he's uprooted a tree and is shaking out the nuts. The tree drives the crows away, and the squirrels can now squirrel nuts away to survive the winter. Mike got 3 birds with 1 tree, as the saying goes. Ma and Pa realize their son isn't a squirrel. He's some kind of mighty mouse, and Mike feels like it's time he's moved on. Guess he's read Superman comics and knows that this is the way of all superheroes. Pearl reminds Scrappy that Mighty Mouse came from the street and a broken home, just like Scrappy. Despite his train-wreck childhood, he grew up to wear tights and talk in a ridiculously operatic voice, and maybe, just maybe, Scrappy will too. Scrappy's eyes sweat so much it floods the street. Scrappy wonders if Mighty has a secret identity. And who should be there to answer that question? Mike Mouse. Mike says that whoever Mighty Mouse really is, he's honest and hardworking. Wink. And you know what that wink is for? For the fact that Mike Mouse isn't a real person, he's lying to cover up who Mighty Mouse really is. Take honest off your resume, Mike. No one's ever going to know the real you. Billy Joel was right. We all have a face that we hide away forever, and we take it out and show ourselves when the cats terrorize the city and we need a hero. I'm paraphrasing, but I think that's pretty close to the actual lyric. After these messages, we'll look at the impact, aftermath, and explore the legacy of Mighty Mouse: The New Adventures.
It's tea time.
It's Nerf Indoor Golf, the game that turns your home into a 9-hole golf course. It's tough to make a disastrous shot because the balls are soft and safe. Nerf Indoor Golf from Parker Brothers.
Shall I serve, sir?
It's Nerf Ping Pong with safe, soft balls so almost any table, almost anywhere can be a table tennis table. Good game, sir. Nerf Ping Pong from Parker Brothers. There's only one Nerf.
Lucky's cornered. We'll get it, Lucky Charms, this time.
Time? That's it. I'll make a time tunnel and go back in time with me Lucky Charms. A crunchy oat cereal with a rainbow of marshmallow surprises. Pink hearts, orange stars, yellow moons, green clovers, blue diamonds, and purple horseshoes. Time sure fly, yikes. Ouch, 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 ouch. Guess the time ran out. Frosted Lucky Charms, a historic part of this nutritious breakfast.
Ooga mega, ooga diga.
Little Hershey's Kisses have big, big chocolate. Little Hershey's Kisses have big, big chocolate. Little Kisses have big chocolate. You're gonna love. They got little silver wrappers. They got tiny little flags. They got big, big chocolate. They live in great big bags. Little Hershey's Kisses have big, big chocolate. Little Kisses have big chocolate. You're gonna love.
Was it a phenomenon? Yes, but not in a generally known way. The series, Mighty Mouse: The New Adventures, ran for 19 episodes across 2 seasons. There was controversy over the 1987 episode, The Littlest Tramp, where a family advocacy group claimed Mighty Mouse was sniffing cocaine. While Bakshi railed against the allegation, it is possible that the damage was done. The second season only consisted of 6 episodes and was then gone on October 22, 1988. In the first season time slot, Mighty Mouse was up against powerhouses The Real Ghostbusters on ABC and Alvin and the Chipmunks on NBC. CBS moved the show to a noon time slot for season 2, where its competition was Animal Crack-Ups on ABC and Too Hip for TV on NBC. It is possible that Mighty Mouse was buried to keep small kids from watching while the network aired all contracted episodes. While not a success in the way of Saturday morning cartoons with the lunchboxes, dolls, and other assorted things that the kids of the 80s clamored for, it was a success behind the scenes. Mighty Mouse brought together a gaggle of animators, some at the start of their careers, some towards the end. Because of Fritz the Cat and Coonskin, Bakshi had a cult following as an underground Walt Disney. He mentored John Kricfalusi, who went on to be a creator-driven showrunner in the 1990s. The animators on this show would go on to produce, direct, or create shows like The Simpsons, Tiny Toons, Batman the Animated Series, Animaniacs, The Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, Powerpuff Girls, Cow and Chicken, and Futurama. Chris Savino, creator of The Loud House, says that the style of storytelling and animation on Mighty Mouse influenced his own work. Was it a phenomenon? Yes, if you like good and zany animation that doesn't follow a formula and tears down expectations episode after episode. In the years after Mighty Mouse went off the air, co-creator Ralph Bakshi went on to direct a few animated shorts, some TV movies, and the feature film Cool World in 1992. This movie was a mix of animation and live action, much like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but unlike Roger Rabbit, was not for kids. One can assume that he has worked on his painting in the intervening years. He also spent a great many years on a film short called The Last Days of Coney Island, released in 2015. Oh, and it's also said that Bakshi's voice was the inspiration from comic book guy on The Simpsons. John Kricfalusi was also co-creator of Mighty Mouse: The New Adventures, as well as a director and writer on the series. He would go on to create Ren and Stimpy for Nickelodeon. While most know it as a cult hit, only true fans know that he was fired from his own show over creative differences. Nickelodeon took control of the program that they owned and ran it the way they felt it should be handled. In 2001, Chris Falusi returned to Saturday morning cartoons in the form of The Ripping Friends on Fox. In 2011 and again in 2015, he would direct couch gags during the opening of episodes of The Simpsons. And I don't know what platform it will be on, but I do know he's working on a Ren and Stimpy short for 2020. Patrick Penny has spent the years since Mighty Mouse providing voices in movies, television, and video games. He seems to be a regular voice in Disney and Pixar movies with The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, and Toy Story to his credit. In 1992, he worked again with Ralph Bakshi in the movie Cool World. Perhaps his most famous role is that of Painty the Pirate in SpongeBob SquarePants. Penny is still active in voice work and has recently provided voices on Trolls The Beat Goes On for Netflix. Maggie Roswell has made a career performing as a voiceover artist. After Mighty Mouse, Roswell went on to A Pup Named Scooby-Doo and Tiny Toon Adventures, but her most famous and longest-running roles have been on The Simpsons. Among her characters were Helen Lovejoy, Ms. Hoover, and the dearly departed Maud Flanders. Dana Hill went on to animation with Disney. She voiced Buddy Gummy on The Gummy Bears and Tank Muddlefoot on Darkwing Duck. For a majority of her life, Hill battled with diabetes. At the age of 10, the condition ended a promising athletic career. In 1996, she slipped into a diabetic coma and then suffered a stroke. Sadly, on July 15th of 1996, Dana Hill passed away in her sleep at the age of 32. Michael Pataki, the character actor known for his dark roles, went on to voice the character of George Licker for John Chris Falusi on Ren and Stimpy and other Chris Falusi shows. Through the 90s and early 2000s, Pataki worked steadily, taking roles here and there. His last film, Trim, was released in 2010. On April 15, 2010, Michael Pataki passed away in Los Angeles at the age of 72. What is the legacy of Mighty Mouse? It was here and gone before anyone knew it, but Mighty has been with us since the 1940s and will likely continue to be with us here and there for some time to come. When there isn't a Mighty Mouse cartoon, it's not because the property is dead, it's just on hiatus. The legacy is the art and the influence. It inspired a new wave of animators to go with their instinct and create for the sake of art. I'm sure when you're looking at the humor of SpongeBob SquarePants or The Amazing World of Gumball, you're looking at the work of animators who saw Mighty Mouse, or at least the Bob Clampett of it all, and slanted their work, either intentionally or not, in that direction. Maybe the legacy of Mighty Mouse, The New Adventures, is that it brought zany back to the forefront of Saturday morning cartoons. As far as Mighty Mouse the Mouse, he received a 10-issue comic book series in 1990 and 91 as an extension of this television show. It was a story that centered around Scrappy Mouse coming under evil influence while playing video games. As far back as 2004, Paramount Pictures and Nickelodeon started pre-production on a Mighty Mouse big screen feature, bringing the character back to where it started, in theaters. It was to be a computer-generated Mighty Mouse that would come to save the day. Due to a rights dispute during the 2006 CBS-Viacom split, the project stalled and was then canceled. 2013 came and went without a Mighty Mouse movie, and that seemed to be the end of it. But then, the miraculous happened. CBS and Viacom came back together in 2019. They brought all the rights to Mighty Mouse and other Terry Toon creations back under one roof. John and Eric Hober, known for Red, Battleship, and The Meg, are scripting a Mighty Mouse movie for Paramount Animation. The film is said to be a CG live-action hybrid, though no release date has been set as of this time. Mighty Mouse The New Adventures is available on DVD and may be available on other streaming platforms. The original Terry Toon segments can be found on YouTube. If the Mighty Mouse movie does happen, who would you cast as the hero, or Pearl Pureheart, or any of the others? Let us know on social media. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. thank you for joining us at the Saturday Morning Podcast. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review wherever you get your episodes. If you'd like to drop us a line, please write to satmornpod@hotmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at satmornpod. If you'd like to support us to create more of these things, find us at patreon.com/SaturdayMorn. Supporters will get extra content and a chance to win behind-the-scenes prizes and given email priority. Do you have any vintage Saturday morning memories? Email your story and we could read it on the next episode.